Okay, I think what I'm going to do is redo the interior of the car. 69 XKE. The leather is actually in very good condition. You know, there's no problems with it. It's not ripped or anything. You know, the panels, the door panels, everything looks good. But it looks old, especially the sill covers. They're all worn out. The carpet's worn out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Leatherique, and I'm going to start with the center console because that definitely needed to be covered, or either covered or re-dyed. The leather was, because of the sun, the leather was faded and it just didn't look right. The carpets, they're sad. I bought some new ones from I think it was called Aldrich Trimming in London, or someplace around London, and I've had them sitting around for a couple of years, just haven't had time to get to this. So and I figured as far as the center console goes, it was going to cost something like, I don't know, $1,200 to have it redone, and I can't hurt it. Worst case scenario, I have to shell out the money and have it done professionally. But first, I'm gonna be dyeing the center console. I'm gonna re-dye the sills here. The seats, I don't know. I'm going to see how the leather dye works. Again, it's from Leatherique. It's a match of the original color. You send them in a swatch and they send it to you. I don't think I'm going to do the door panels. Originally I was going to, but now that I'm looking at them, they're actually pretty good. So I'll be putting some sound. There's nothing under these old carpets. So I'm going to be putting some sound deadener on them. I'm going to be using the Leatherique process for the seats to soften them up, see if they actually have to have another re-dye or whatever. Anyhow, I'm just going to spruce it up. So let me get going at it, and as I'm going along, I'll show you what I'm doing. There's a lot of videos already out there on YouTube on on what to do about using Leatherique, so I won't get too much into that. But I will show you what the results are, and I'll let you know whether or not the product lives up to its reputation or not. So let me get started with it, and it's a nice day, not too hot, not too cold, so it should be a good day to work on it. So I'll let you know. Okay, this is where I'm at. It's been about maybe 45 minutes, an hour. I've got the seats out, and I did another video on how to take these seats out, especially if you have these bolts that won't come out on you. They get stuck and they're rusted or something. I'll show you how to do that. But at this point, I'm putting the Leatherique Rejuvenator on, and this is how much I've used so far on the one seat and the center console. This is the seat that has it on now. It's nice and shiny, and if it starts getting dull, then I have to put some more on because that means it's being absorbed into the leather. Again, this is the other one. It's a really simple process. You just take it and wipe it on. Just make sure you get it on really good, and you're supposed to wait 24 to 48 hours after you do this, so it's not a quick process. But the more I look at these seats, the more I'm thinking I don't have to do anything to them. They're really in good condition, and again, if I do decide to dye it, it would only be because things aren't matching. As I said, that the center console definitely needs to be dyed because of the condition that was in, and I'll show you that before I dye it. But the seats and the door panels, they look pretty good. So unless I have a problem with the color match, which I don't think I'm going to have because I sent them a sample, then I'll just I'll go with the seats as they are. But anyhow, once you put the Leatherique on, you just rub it in with your hands. And just keep rubbing it in, and then put another coat on and rub it in some more until it won't absorb anymore. And if it doesn't absorb it, then it's getting into the leather. So after I'm done with this, I'm going to hit the door panels. But as I said, the door panels are really good. They're a little dirty, they're good. These these are the ones that are in bad shape. I mean, you can just see these. They're just terrible. So I'll be working on those, and everything else though, it looks good. But you know, while I'm at it, it's one of those things. Maybe I'll do more. I don't know, but we'll see as we're going along. Okay, I'm going to start on the sills, and for this I'm going to be using the Leatherique prepping agent. Since the sills are vinyl, they don't need the rejuvenator on because there's nothing to soak into and to get the dirt out of. So I'm going to be using the prepping agent, and I'm using 600 sandpaper, and I just stick that in there. They tell you to wear gloves, so I better put a glove on. Put that in there, and then I'm going to sand them all down. And once I have them sanded down, at that point those can be dyed. And looking at this, I can see that at some point in time these were dyed. You see the line? That's because they didn't take the seats out. But these had been dyed once before, so the dyeing agent, this side over here, is worn out because getting in and out of the car, passenger side isn't worn out because not too many passengers get in and out the car. So anyhow, I'm going to sand this down, get this ready to do the dyeing on this. Okay folks, it's been 3.5 weeks since I noticed that the color that they sent me was different than the color I needed. Why did it take 3.5 weeks? That's a good question. First of all, they wanted me to return the product. Okay, I'll return the product, but they wanted me to return it at my expense. So I sent it back to them, $11, priority mail, took 3 days to get to them. That's 3 days out of the 3.5 weeks. Where's the rest of the time? COVID. Apparently the post office supposedly lost the article and blah, 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 blah. Anyhow, needless to say, I'm not real happy with the customer service at Leatherique. I don't feel as though I should have had to return the product, but nonetheless, if I did have to return the product, then they should at least have paid to have the product returned, since it was their fault, and they should have, you know, at the very least sent it out the very next day, priority mail. So anyhow, 3.5 weeks of summer driving down the tube because I got the wrong product from them. The other thing, they asked me, why did I add the ounce of water? I told them, they said, well, you know, did you shake it and so on and so forth? I told them, yeah, I even add the ounce of water. And they were surprised, well, why did you add an ounce of water? I said, because it says to add an ounce of water. I don't know if you can read that or not. Well, it says add 1 ounce of water to get all the dye from the bottle. So anyhow, I added an ounce of water. Nonetheless, that still didn't affect the color. The color is nowhere near the color it should have been, but I'm all set. The new batch that they sent me matches, so I'm going to continue with the dyeing process and the carpets and so on and so forth. I'm doing the stuff first that really doesn't show, and I'm doing that just to get the experience of putting it on. I'm using this little brush, which I was recommended by somebody who had done the Leatherique process before, a 1-inch latex artist brush. So I'm using that instead of spraying or wiping or anything else. So let me get going at this. Again, I'm going to redo that back that I've already done and do the other parts that aren't really that conspicuous before I start on the big thing, which is the center console, and that's the one that really started this whole process off. So anyhow, that's my complaint, and let me get to things. Okay, so it's the next day, and I'm going to give this a second coat. I missed a little, I don't know if you can see it or not. I missed a couple spots here, but all in all, it's a really close match to the original. So I'm happy with that, and I just want to show you how easy this really is to put on. Just say, use the artist brush, the 1-inch acrylic artist brush, and you just paint it. You just paint. There's no brush strokes. There's no bubbles or anything that that you might expect with if you were just painting something. So, and you don't have to be very careful really. So I've spent an hour and a half doing doing this area, doing the sills, and doing the center console. And all in all, it's coming out pretty good. But so anyhow, I'm not going to do this whole thing with the camera. I'm just showing how easy it is to do it. You really don't have to have a spray gun or a sponge or anything else. All you need is a good paintbrush, and you paint it on. And I'm really not using much of this at all, so I'm going to have to find another use for it. I don't know. Maybe I'll do this area back here, or the floor. The floors are looking very bad. Not that it really matters, but I may do that. I have so much left over. So, all right, I'm going to shut the camera off at this point and just finish doing this. And maybe tomorrow I can start getting at the carpets. All right, well, I've got the dyeing done, and I'm putting the carpet in now. I just wanted to show you a couple of things, though. When you buy your new carpet, if your old car has carpet in it already, leave it in, because it gets very confusing when you're trying to figure out what goes where. These pieces are, they look confusing. So what I did is I left the pieces in, and I can then go back to the new kit and I can look and I can say, okay, obviously this piece goes here, this piece goes there. There's a left and a right to everything. The other advantage is that as you pull the pieces out, it takes a lot of work to get the areas where they're supposed to be cut out. All right, so if you have the old carpet, you can simply use that as a pattern and trace it and cut it out. Save yourself hours of work. The other thing is, you're going to want to be able to get at your transmission for various reasons. You got to get into these panels. So what I'm doing is I'm using Velcro. This is just a piece of Velcro. Actually, I got this off of an old recliner that was being tossed out, and just cut it off, and works great. So I've attached to the bottom part to the carpet itself with just regular contact cement, and for the other part of the Velcro, I'm going to be using this Gorilla mounting tape, and put that on first, be able to line everything up, pull the bottom part off, and stick it on. And I can show you that when I do it. But anyhow, so I've got the other thing is, when you've got your carpet, separate the left and the right, as I said, because it gets very confusing as you're starting to put it in. Everything looks the same. And so anyhow, now for this footwell piece, what I did is I started, because contact cement is, as soon as you touch it, it glues. So what I did was, like that it goes. Alright, so what I did was to first I can't talk and think at the same time. There. Alright, so what I did was first put this short section on, alright, because it has a curve in it. I put the short section on first, and then I attached the contact cement to the rest of it, because there's a hole that has to be cut out here, which is fairly simple. You just cut it. Cut it well. And then if you find that you don't have the contact cement in the correct area, you can simply go back, pull it off a little. As you can see, I don't want to cut that too much. There. And so if I didn't have enough contact cement, I can easily pull off the edge of it and then put down what I need to do. So once I get the contact cement down, just smooth it all out. Make sure it's sticking. If it's not sticking in an area like here, and a little pressure doesn't help, I'll simply go back, put a little more contact cement on. But you don't want to work too far ahead of yourself. In other words, you don't want to do all the pieces in the car with your contact cement and then expect to be able to go back and just put everything there. The problem is, of course, it takes about 20 minutes for the contact cement to dry. So, you got to work around the car and do areas that you can get at, and just be prepared to wait for a while. So anyhow, I'll keep on going with the carpet, show you what it looks like as I go along. As I said, for this one here though, that's going to go on, and I'm going to contact cement the top of it and do the bottom with the Velcro. A lot of cables in here. So anyhow, let me get to it. Now down to the matting. I tried a couple different ways to do this, but I tried the closed cell rubber matting, like the floor mats they sell at Harbor Freight, but I just honestly couldn't get the contours. Because these carpets are made with a little well in it, and I just could not get the contour to sit right when I put the really hard rubber down. So what I'm using, this is just regular old carpet padding that I pulled the carpet up and saved a little of it, and use the pattern of the mat itself, trace it out, take the piece into the car and test it, and I found that I have to make it smaller than the actual pad in order for it to sit right. But anyhow, this is nice and flexible, and it seems to work. I suppose it's not the best thing in the world. It can absorb water, but then who wants to take their car off if it's raining anyhow? These little things right here, I don't know if you can see or not, those little marks. What that is for is the Velcro. Okay, I've got 2 pieces of Velcro down there, and I'm going to hold it down to the floor with the Velcro. I did that with the other side, and it seemed to work all right. Now, again, you can see the color. This is the new, this is the old. It's really identical. So I'm not going to get into pulling this one off, because this one looks like a real pain and to get behind the pedals and things to put a new one on. So I'm just going to leave that on there. Anyhow, let me get going, cut this out, and keep going. Well, the car's done. Carpets are in, everything's dyed. Now, I do have 2 issues. I don't know if it's my fault or if it's a fault of the dye, but when putting the radio console in, I had to put some tape down there in order to keep things from getting ripped up. If you've ever put the console in, you know how difficult it can be. But the radio has a tendency to rip this stuff up. So I had this taped, and you can see I pulled the finish right off of it, right down to the bare leather. So anyhow, I'm going to have to touch that up, which is no big deal. The other thing, which is more disturbing, is you can see how I wiped it up here. Again, I used a lot of pressure or whatever when I was trying to get the seats in, and it's hot out. It's very hot out today, humid. So it could be that I didn't let it dry long enough, or whatever. But anyhow, I'll touch that up. Again, that's not a big deal. But I'm not happy that that came off. It should be dry by now, I would have thought. But anyhow, there you go. Really a simple job to do. Carpets, simple. I'm going to be covering these carpets though with some Amco rubber mats, because I just don't want them to get all messed up with daily driving. So there you are. I said the only real complaint I have about the Leatherique product is their customer service, and can't do anything about that. Only they can. So anybody wanting to refresh their interior for a reasonable amount, I would suggest to go for it. There you go. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take it easy.